Aloha, shalom. So tomorrow is Shabbat, and we're still in Sukkot, so it's actually called Shabbat Chol HaMoed, and it's a special Shabbat that is aligned with the festival. That's basically what that means. So instead of just going to the next Parsha, we're actually doing a special reading for this Shabbat. The next Parsha would be Vizot HaBracha, which is the final Parsha of the Torah, and it's when Moses goes to the summit of Mount Nebo and he assigns the missions of the 12 tribes. But we're not ready to read that yet because this is a special Shabbat Chol HaMoed. It's sort of like a pause since we're still in the time of Sukkot. And this reading is Exodus 33:12 to 34:26. Again, if you want to write that down, 33:12 to 34:26, Exodus. And this is the story of when God seals a covenant with Moses, with the commandments on Mount Sinai. And the Jews are commanded at that time to observe the three festivals of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And of course, Pesach is the time of the Exodus from Egypt. Shavuot is when we receive the Torah. And Sukkot is, of course, the holiday that we're in right now. So those are the three main festivals. And the reason we're reading this portion for this Shabbat is to just solidify our remembrance of that covenant, that promise that we made to keep these festivals while we are currently amidst one of the festivals of Sukkot. So really, that's the energy you want to be in this week, okay? So forget about the final Parsha. That's going to be coming next week with Shemini Atzeret when we finish reading the Torah, okay? So it's for this Shabbat, for this weekend, for the week ahead, you really want to focus on being fully present with your rituals with Sukkot and with the High Holy Day sequence we just went through, and really be present with that new light that's being cultivated. Focus on that first, one step at a time. And then next week comes Shemini Atzeret, when we're ready to end the Torah. We'll read Vizot HaBracha, when Moses goes to assign each tribe with its individual role within the community of Israel, just like Jacob did when he blessed his 12 sons upon his death 5 generations earlier. So that's going to be the story we read when we finish the Torah. And then right when we finish it, we'll begin again with Genesis. We don't pause, we don't waste time. We connect the end to the beginning, because that is symbolizing the ultimate truth that the beginning is implicit in the end and the end is implicit in the beginning. They are one, it's connected. The Torah is the tree of life. It's a cycle, it's a circle, never ending. And a fun fact, the very first letter of the Torah is a bet, also known as the same as the vet. And the final letter of the Torah is a lamed. When you take the last letter of the Torah and make it the first letter, and you take the first letter and make it the last, you get lamed vet, which is lev, the heart. So when you connect the end of the Torah to the beginning again, by reading Vizot HaBracha and then not waiting and picking up with Genesis all over again, you're keeping the heartbeat going. You're linking the end and the beginning together. You are the bridge. You are the middle connecting factor. It's your heart. You're the middle, and the heart is the middle of you. It's the center of all centers. So this is a really fun time of year where we're still in Sukkot, but now it's Shabbat. We have this extra blast of energy to empower our rituals and our lives right now, and everything that we're going through in our current spiritual process, and in our mental process, in our emotional process, in our physical process, because they're all one process. They're all intimately connected and interwoven. So, with that said, as you really meditate and reflect on all the ritualistic activities you've been doing these past few weeks as we enter this holy time of the year, as you really reflect on that, ask yourself, how has this spiritual process thus far affected my thoughts, my words, my actions, my feelings? How have these practices these past few weeks been affecting me? And how can I, through opening up to these incoming holy energies of Shabbos, how can I supercharge everything I've just done? And then envision ahead into the future what that's going to do for my reality and for our shared reality in the world. What are my intentions as I receive this extra robe, extra spirit on Shabbat, just to enhance everything that is already so powerful right now in my life. How can I be very clear with my intentions and really reflect on just what's going on here, so that I can begin to taste the future and see where all of my efforts are going? What are all of my efforts being put into? Okay, so I did Rosh Hashanah, I did Yom Kippur, I'm in Sukkot, now I have Shabbat. It's like all this holy energy. And depending on how much work you put in, how much, conscious and willing participation you put in to this evolutionary process right now, will determine what the future is going to look like for you and for us as a collective society and as a collective consciousness. So really meditate on that this Shabbat. Okay, because yes, we're in Sukkot, but it's Shabbat, Chol HaMoed, Shabbat, Sukkot. So how are we taking in this extra blessing of energy and empowerment and putting that toward our process that's already been going, that already has momentum? And where is this train headed? So it's like a sacred and holy pause before we end and begin again the Torah, while we are all in the prime place to be doing this pause, in the Sukkah. And even if it's just symbolic, even if it's just energetic in your mind, understand how profound that is. We came to the new year, we've purified ourselves, we received new light, we've come together in the Sukkah, in the temporary dwelling, in the home that is made of the very elements that we're made of and that we are one with. Okay, so now we're in this collective, purified space where we have prioritized what is really important, because we have now remembered that we don't need to have any fear or insecurities, because our very protection, which the Sukkah represents, is always surrounding us, really. Our truest protection is God and the expression of God through the elements of nature. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's like we've eliminated our fear, we've eliminated this lens of fear that has been keeping us from seeing the truth. And we've also purified and unified. So in this space of unity, devoid of fear, where there's only love and togetherness and understanding and right prioritization, we are finally ready to take this sacred pause, honor what we're about to step into, and then step into it with the most grace and with the most ease as one conscious unit, one conscious and very willing and passionate and inspired, connected to God, unit. We're one with God. Not just connected, we're all just one. We are one. There's no need to connect that which already is one. And so together with God, we're going to step into this next stage of Shmini Atzeret and ending and beginning again. For Simchat Torah, I mean to say. Finishing the Torah is what I should say, in plain English, so that we get it correct here. We are about to enter this sacred time of ending the Torah and beginning again. This is like a rebirth. This is like the final piece of this whole month's process, which has been a continuous rebirth. So before we close up the chapter and begin anew with Genesis, we want to remember how sacred that process is. To end anything, an ending in general, and a beginning also. Such powerful portals. So how are we going to honor with the most respect and the most awareness and grace and compassion? How are we going to honor the end of this Torah reading this year and begin with Genesis? Wow, so powerful every year. How are we going to hold this process and support this process as it occurs within us and all around us? How can we be the best vessels for that and the best supporters of that natural process? Now is the sacred pause on this Shabbat Chol HaMoed to really get in touch with that vision and know that we will be carrying it together and manifesting it together as we step into the final piece of this sequence of High Holy Days. So I hope that's helpful for you guys who have been really wanting to dive deeper with the Torah and the rituals and the Kabbalah this year. And if you have any questions, please reach out. This video will get loaded to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic. So if you have a friend who's not in our private group, Shabbat Crew, here on Facebook, then you can send them one of those links. And please share with us on our private wall, or even share with me privately in a message if you're not ready for that, what your rituals have been like. What insights have you gained? What wisdom can you share? How was this year different from last year? How have you learned certain things that you maybe want to apply next year that you weren't able to this year? In what ways do you feel renewed? In what ways do you feel more connected to society, to each other, to your purpose in bettering our world? Do you feel more connected to God? Do you think you can help others feel that connection? I want to hear from you. I want to see your pictures. I want to know what rituals you're doing and how your heart is growing, or if there's something that we can do in our group to help initiate that process if you're just not feeling it yet. The goal is to really feel it, to have the spirit and passion in all that you do, especially with these sacred rituals. Otherwise, they mean nothing. Your heart has to be in it. Your mind has to be in it. So let's help each other get there and stay there. Happy Sukkot, everybody. I look forward to hearing from you. And have a very meaningful Shabbat Chol HaMoed. Shalom.